But in that sense, and I see this traditionalism, people explain it so many times in terms of male energy and female energy. And do you believe that's a real thing, or is that marketing?
Well, just in short, no. As a very science-minded person, I think that energy is we understand what it is. It is, something that is transferred from body to body. We understand it, and we measure it in forms of, calorie or what have you. There's volcanoes have energy, all sorts of things, right? So when it comes to chemistry, physics, all of that stuff we understand, but I don't think anybody with any reasonable scientific credentials would say that you could measure masculine or feminine energy, right, in any meaningful way. Now, that's not to say that there isn't differences in the traits of of men and women that are very noticeable and profound. We're a sexually dimorphic species, so we do tend to have traits that influence one group or another group through sex hormones and stuff like that. But most of the stuff that I've read about it is just kind of, I want to say, like modern day astrology. It's just kind of, it's more for entertainment, or for to kind of give somebody some guidance in life, maybe. But I don't think there's really any concrete basis for talking about it.
Like you said a little back earlier, sometimes it's only to sell a product. So people they tell women, you won't attract a good man, or like a high value. I hate this expression, a high value man, because you're gonna value people. Okay, whatever. So you won't attract a high value man if you are on your male energy. You have to be on your female energy. So like, buy my ebook and I'll teach you how. So that's kind of, it works like that very often. It very often works like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, and usually people who have those positions and say those things, they have a very romanticized ideal, right? Like a form in their mind of what would be the best partner. And hey, my hat's off to them for that. There's a lot of people out there who have no idea what they want out of a partner. But the mistake is assuming that everybody else wants that exact same thing, when for everybody it's all about trade-offs, right? So do you want to go all in on attractiveness at the expense of other traits, or do you want to kind of balance things out a little bit more? And I think people have to make up their minds on those individually. But yeah, often there's like this standard held up that this is the perfect partner, and I don't think anybody can really say that. In fact, a lot of the research shows that it's not that way. There was some twin research that I covered on a article called Love at First Sight. Do you believe in love at first sight? On the science of sex on Substack. And the research basically wanted to find out how much of attraction was nature versus nurture. So they did a twin study, which is pretty classic. It's kind of the best way to figure out how much, or get an approximation of how much of each is involved in the formulation of something. And it turns out that just by a tiny margin, individual preferences won the day. So, 51% of the individuals involved in the study had individual preferences versus the genetic preferences. So in this, I covered conscious attraction, unconscious attraction, individual attraction, universal attraction. So there are some things that are kind of universal, like symmetrical faces. Almost everybody knows about, right? Symmetrical faces are more preferable to most people, even infants, than asymmetrical faces. The debate in that research seems to be, is that because we find symmetrical faces a measure of health, which some people argue, or just because we like symmetrical things? My desk is symmetrical here. My room is symmetrical as it can be. So we tend to just organize everything as symmetrically as possible, regardless of whether it has to do with love or romance or relationships. So another study wanted to find out how universal attraction was. And again, it's pretty close, neck and neck. But it came out to 48% of the time people would disagree if you took two people and asked them what's attractive. They'd agree 48% of the time, and they'd disagree 52% of the time. So 52% of the time, and this was a huge study. How many people was it? I think it was in the tens of thousands. So there's a lot of people involved. It's not like, oh, we just took 10 people off the street and asked them about what they're attracted to. So slightly more, 52% of the time, they disagree on what they found was attractive, which means that, yes, it's mostly an individual preference rather than a group preference that, you know, everybody agrees with. So yeah, I think that's kind of the Achilles heel of a lot of those movements, the idea that like, oh, well, I can just put this person or kind of like form or, you know, fantasy of a person that I have up on a pedestal, and that everybody will automatically appreciate that and that will resonate with everybody.
Yeah, I think it also relates a lot to our need to keep control. So this whole idea that if I find a man who pays for the first date and who keeps paying for all dates, then that is a measure that I found a good person. It's a way to try to control, because there are so many variables, and a relationship is not something that is fixed, and it's going to evolve. If you're with someone for a long period of time, that relationship is going to evolve and you're going to change, and this person is going to change with you. So trying to control the variables from the beginning, from the very first date, and try to predict the future, because he paid on the first date, that means we're going to have a beautiful future together. It doesn't match reality, because reality is it's about building together, it's about making mistakes and forgiving and moving forward.